it up somehow.
Okay, my Stray Dog family, it's long past the time when I should have said good night, St. Kitts and Nevis. Good night to the entire Caribbean region. And in the process, I must apologize for my late start tonight, again, due to circumstances beyond my control. We're having some technical difficulties here, but that's part of the game, and I'm sure you'll understand. So I want again to say a very pleasant night to all who are logged on to Straight Talk with Ian Patches Liburd on YouTube and on Facebook. And welcome to this another edition. I say greetings to those on the World Wide Web. We are beaming all around the world, so I'm at liberty to say good night to some on the World Wide Web. I'm at liberty to say good morning, and I can say good afternoon, because one of such greetings is applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. I know that some of you are in Africa, there are some of you in Asia, there are some of you in Europe, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So my Straight Dog family, greetings one more time, and I profusely, humbly apologize for my tardy start tonight. I know we have first-timers, and just for the first-timers, it's important to let you know that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly you must have obligations as well. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I thank Almighty God for blessing me with another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And my Straight Dog family, again, I do apologize, and I want to get straight into the program tonight. There may be some obituaries. I am not au fait with anybody who has gone to the great beyond, but I know there are some who may be missing or would have lost a loved one. So I want to extend condolences to all those who have lost loved ones, my Straight Dog family, and to let them know that death is a process. My Straight Dog family, we normally have our observations. It's a time when we reflect on issues that we have raised, and we look back and we update you with information and trust that we will keep informed, and it would see how it would have impacted us positively and or otherwise. And my first observation, nonetheless, I'll go straight into our observations tonight in the interest of time. And my first observation relates, my Straight Dog family, to the smart hospital that we've been hearing so much about. We've been hearing so much about this smart hospital that we've heard the Prime Minister make mention of, and he has said many a time that there will be an investment in, quote unquote, again, like I said, this smart hospital. And today at his press conference, I'll tell you much more about the press conference as well, but today at his press conference, he made mention of this smart hospital, and not much we gathered about the hospital, except he went on a visit to the site. What that means, I really don't know.
Our commitment to healthcare remains firm. Just 2 days ago, I visited the proposed site for a modern, state-of-the-art, climate-smart general hospital that will revolutionize healthcare delivery in our federation. Through cooperation between the governments of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Republic of China, Taiwan, this vision will become a reality. Between the governments of St. Kitts.
And yes, my Straight Dog family, the smart hospital, we actually looked at the visit to the site, but we haven't heard much though. This is all about photo ops, and because we don't know what the cost would be, but at least we ought to know whether it would be financed by a loan or grant from the Republic of China and Taiwan. And if it is a grant, will it be deducted from our annual budgetary support, or perhaps will it be advanced budgetary support? But, we don't get much information from Drew and his team. But my Straight Dog family, in time, that no doubt will have to come forth. So, our second observation, my Straight Dog family, again, relates to the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw Museum. And we did inform you some time ago, based on our roving reporter. We brought you information to wit that this particular facility had already started. One of our major concerns was whether there was any tendering whatsoever done in relation to that particular project. We know for certain that there was no tendering process, and we get back to the same old Jew habits, where they talk one thing, but their actions are entirely different. And this, my Straight Dog family, continues to be of concern for us here in St. Kitts, and ought to be a concern for us as a people, my Straight Dog family, as he made mention of the museum today.
I wish to mention that the Robert Bradshaw Museum is well on its way. I visited the site yesterday, and I'm already impressed by the progress thus far.
Well, my Straight Dog family said he visited the site yesterday. He did confirm it's in progress, but again, there was no public tendering on that project. We've seen the architects as Williams Architecture, I think it's called, Victor Williams. We've seen the contractor, Lennox Warner. We've also seen a project engineer, I think it is, Peter Jenkins. But those are going to be my observations for tonight, my Street Dog family, because I know that I'm a little short on time. I apologize for the late start once more time. But our short thesis tonight, which I'll embark upon without much more delay, is titled "In Novice, Holding the Rudder of the State." Again, in Novice, holding the rudder of the state, my Straight Dog family. And anyone amongst us who studied Roman history, and let me hasten to add, I did not, but anyone amongst us who studied Roman history would no doubt have read about Marcus Tullius Cicero, a statesman, lawyer, scholar, philosopher, writer, and academic skeptic who tried to uphold ultimate principles, the best principles, during the political crises that led to the establishment of the Roman Empire. And history reveals that Cicero was marginalized in the Roman Senate and thus became frustrated without real power and began to write about how the government should be run. It is said that his political influence had declined at the time of his writings, and he penned these words to a friend, which I quote: "I used to sit on the deck and hold the rudder of the state in my hands. Now there is scarcely room for me in the bilge." And my Straight Dog family, I believe in this, there is a perfect example being played out in the Duke cabinet. No matter the public pretense, Drew and his advisors, Hartley and Charlie, had long devised a strategy very early in his term to sideline Denzel Douglas, who had the rudder of the state in his hands for 20 years. Douglas served as leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party for 32 years. I believe one short of Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, its first leader, who served for 33 years, from 1945, I believe it was, until 1978. And as I said, Douglas served for 32 years as leader of the party, and he confirmed this himself, my Straight Dog family.
The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, in January, it celebrates its 90th anniversary. And for the 90 years that it would have been in existence, I have led it for 32 years. Isn't that a long time? We have been in existence.
And yes, my Straight Dog family, it's a long time. Now recall in October 2021, all Douglas asked for was 6 more months, perhaps with the intention to equal Bradshaw's tenure as he celebrated the 90th birthday of the party as its leader. But Dr. Terence Drew, hungry for power, insisted that Douglas must go now.
I prefer if people can say that they would want me to support in that way for the extra 6 months, then I prefer not to be there. And so I ask you to consider what I have said I wanted to clarify this matter because I think it is totally disrespectful when people are saying, oh, Douglas must go. Douglas wants to stay here forever. This is what is being said by our own comrades around. And I feel very, very disrespected when people will make statements of that kind. Of course, you can say you don't want Douglas. You can have someone else. But to say that I want to stay here forever and I must go and that kind of nonsense, I feel disrespected. I wouldn't say hurt, but disrespected.
Disrespected by Drew and his other comrades who insisted he must go. Now, Douglas wanted an extra 6 months to be leader during the 90th birthday celebration, which was coming up in January of 2022. But the disrespected Douglas declined to be challenged on the floor, declined to contest leadership, and instead he recommended support for Congress Maynard instead.
Since Dr. Drew wants to contest, I think he should contest with the other two who are interested in contesting, and that is why I recommend you consider somebody like Congress.
So my Straight Talk family, no mind the public appearances and pretenses. And I saw Douglas attended the press conference, obviously can at all times absent himself, but he was there today. But so adamant to sideline Douglas, Drew first tried to meet one of Douglas's financiers. And when the organizer he called to arrange the meeting suggested that he should bring Douglas along, in his arrogance, Drew responded that he was not going to walk in the shadow of Denzel Douglas. Obviously, the investor refused to meet Terence Drew in the absence of Denzel Douglas, who he once referred to as Jesus. I was there when that investor referred to Denzel Douglas as Jesus Christ. What he meant, till this day, I don't know. I asked Douglas about it back then, and he just laughed, his normal laugh. You know, Denzel Douglas. But Drew, Terence Drew, the party minority leader, he then puts Jeffrey next in line, who Douglas appointed to manage the infamous PEP program, as Douglas called it. Douglas, remember, recruited Jeffrey to join his ticket in 2020. So Drew appointed him, Jeffrey Hanley, as his deputy after the 2022 election. But what kind of advice, you ask? What kind of advice can Drew get from a self-confessed slow student? Or put it the other way around. What kind of advice can a self-confessed slow student give to the Prime Minister? My Straight Talk family. Yes, he's confessed he was a slow student, my Straight Talk family.
Look at me, comrade. I told you how I started off as a slow student. I went to 1A4, 2A4, 3G7, 4G6, 5th Farm, 5G6. And guess what? I repeated. So I was in school for quite a while. But look at me today. Bachelor's in psychology with a minor in social work. Masters of education. Another master's degree in political and organizational psychology. And I would have been in a program for quite a while, since 2005, I'm not ashamed. And in 2016, I was offered the opportunity of getting a PhD.
My Straight Talk family, I listened to the Minister Hanley at the Bastille High School gala some weeks ago, and he said he had 2 bachelor's degrees in circumstances unheard of elsewhere, and in the shortest order earned or bought or was given 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 masters, and according to him was offered the opportunity of getting a PhD. Michael Pearl would say he has more degrees than a thermometer. But everyone knows that Jeffrey lied about his graduation, but he does not care and parades the country and the world as Dr. Jeffrey Hanley. But everybody knows as well that he graduated with a PhD from some university he did not attend. Say what you like about Douglas, and I have said a lot myself about Douglas, but there is no one in that present cabinet who will or can accomplish half of the things Douglas accomplished. Truth be told, Douglas, in my view, stayed too long at the helm. Yes, 20 years is a long time. So what happened? The power of incumbency creeped in. And when Douglas was doing wrong, he obviously felt he was doing right. His actions brought back to memory the words of Warren Buffett. And we know Warren Buffett, who as of June 2023, last month, possessed a net worth of $117 billion, making him the 5th richest person in the world. And Buffett said back then, people in power don't give it up easily. Although Douglas confessed that he saw potential in Timothy Harris. Yes, he said this.
Harris, of course. I had seen Harris as a potential leader.
Yes, he saw potential in Harris as a leader. Douglas further conceded that he could not just hand over the prime ministership to Harris. He just could not hand it over to Harris, as he said.
But I don't think it was the right way to go about that. I couldn't hand over the leadership of a government to someone when the Constitution is very clear as to how the leader of the party is determined and then how the leader would lead the party into an election to become a prime minister eventually.
But Douglas and or Harris are no longer at the helm, and the Federation appears to be in such an upside down situation, upside down position. Our economy is in great disorder that we cannot help but wonder what will become of our ship of state with this novice steering the rudder. I'm afraid that many of the questions Cicero asked back then still resonate today. One question he asks, what is the foundation of a just government? And this is a complex topic that has been debated for centuries. And one of the most important principles is the idea of popular sovereignty, which means that the government exists to serve the people who elect representatives to express their will. Another important principle is consent of the governed, which refers to the idea that a government's legitimacy and moral right to use state power is justified and lawful only when consented to by the people over which that political power is exercised. Justice, my Straight Dog family, is also an important foundation. I say that again. Justice is also an important foundation, my Straight Dog family, for democracy and health. And we must tell the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin that we not only want swift justice, but most of all, we need equal justice. As he said this today, my Straight Dog family.
We are also working on the Criminal Procedure Bill and amendments to the Jury Bill to speed up and strengthen the criminal justice system. Accused persons and victims simply wait too long for their cases to be heard. We are addressing this as a high priority for the AG's office, and I promise that within the next year there will be swifter justice in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes, it is said that justice delayed is justice denied. But what kind of rule is better? A good rule is behavioral. It is clear and it is always enforced when broken. A good rule places emphasis on behavior that sets an example that can be followed. And the behavior of chief legal officer or our chief legal officer is atrocious, to say the least, my Straight Dog family. The behavior of the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin has not one admirable quality, not one. He is totally dishonest. The swift justice the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin refers to has sent two businessmen, two brothers from Old Road, to 4 months in jail. Yes, 4 months at 1840 for breaching the social security laws of St. Kitts and Nevis just a few days ago. The ironical thing, we are told, is the government owes these two businessmen, these two brothers, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I tell you, they must pay nonetheless. But there must not only be swiftness in justice, I should say rather, but there must also, more importantly, be equality in justice. The Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin did not pay his contributions on behalf of his nanny until he was elected president of the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association. Then he lapsed again for 12 or 15 months and ran to the Social Security to settle his arrears the very day before being appointed Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs. And you think it ended there? No. Having taken the oath of office and sworn to uphold the Constitution, he failed to pay the Social Security contribution for another 5 months. But that was okay with lawyer Leon Charles, and the Social Security Board, because his last name is Wilkin, a privileged kid. So yes, we want swift justice, but there's a basic promise of our legal system that there will be equal justice under the law. That can only mean that our laws are just and that everyone, underline everyone, will be held equally accountable if they break those laws. We will never forget that the Attorney General, Garth Lucian Wilkin, broke the laws of this land. As for our leader, he exhibits none of the qualities that others should follow. As we live in the present and must face the future, everybody needs hope, especially in this world that is filled with so much complexity, so much uncertainty and so much unpredictability, my Straight Talk family. Everybody needs hope. But when some people lose hope, taking extreme negative actions, unfortunately, becomes attractive to them. Hope is very important. When people become hopeless, they are tired of living. They sometimes get into a state of depression, want to commit suicide, and negative actions they want to undertake. In the book of Proverbs, my Straight Dog family, chapter 13, verse 12, it reads, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when dreams come true, there's life and joy." How should our leader behave? Is a relevant question, and my simple response is, he must always tell the truth. But I recall that on Straight Talk, we have renamed this month July. And this is because Dr. Drew obviously believes that telling lies to the Federation would give us hope as a people. But we are a godly nation. And Dr. Drew seems to forget that every time before he speaks, the national anthem is played. And we sing words like, "With God in our struggles." Very powerful words. So each time Dr. Drew and some members of his cabinet lie to the country, it reminds many of us that the Lord told the people of Judah, "Your prophets have said so many foolish things, false to the core. They did not try to hold you back from exile by pointing out your sins. Instead, they painted false pictures, filling you with false hope." From the book of Lamentation, you will find that. That's the New Living Translation. False hope, my Straight Dog family, is no hope. There are many people today who have been given false hopes by those who pretended to be prophets. All they said, which their victims were excited to receive as the truth, has not come to pass. The poor people are their victims, who they promised that they will increase the PAP to $1,500, as $500 could not lift you out of poverty. That's what they said. $500, he said, could not lift us out of poverty or lift the poor people out of poverty. He said $1,500 was his promise.
This $500 and the way that they're approaching it is not lifting anybody out of poverty. So we will make sure that our people who live in poverty can be alleviated for real through our MEND program, as we mend the PAP and make it better. These are not just words.
Not words. And what these false promises or prophets did, if they were not words, they took thousands, listen to the actions, they took thousands of poor people off the PAP. Thousands of poor people off the PAP. My Straight Dog family, the same people they were going to lift out of poverty.
We paid on the 30th of June, I'll get that number for you, 5,361 households are receiving PAP at this time. Remember, when we closed applications in December, 11,639 applied. Of that number, 8,985 were eligible. All right? And so that now, if you take 5,361 from that number, it's over 60% of the applications are being paid. I know for some persons being in the 40%, to them it's unfair. When you take the big picture, PAP is functioning for what it's supposed to be, a social assistance program for the most poor and vulnerable in our population.
What nonsense, my Straight Dog family. Is that the way poverty should be dealt with. Poverty should only be applied or dealt with just 50% of 60% of the poor. It has to be nonsense, my straight dog family. And if it is from the books you read, then move away from the academic and get functional, dear lady. My straight dog family, Dr. Jew, as a leader, must create a foundation of fairness and openness, or we will never believe him. For 11 months, 11 long months, he has done nothing but lie and give us false hope about reducing the cost of living. Even today, he did the same.
I want to emphasize the unwavering commitment of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration to lowering the cost of living for all of our citizens. In this post-COVID environment, with inflation, and we see fuel prices rising, transport costs rising, we as a government, your government, we are taking it very seriously and doing what we have to do to lower the cost of living for you, our beloved citizens.
Such a lie. What a lie. Big lie. Go to the supermarket tomorrow. You can only get 2 little pieces of mackerel, poor people food, for $20. 2 pieces of mackerel for $20. You remember mackerel was we poor people food? Mackerel and bread we had? Soak it in a little water and just eat it with your bread? But for the past 11 months, all you has been focused on is the last 7 years of the Team Unity administration. And it tells so many lies, my straight dog family, that he obviously need to tell a lie to account for the next lie he's going to tell. That's the only way I can rationalize that, my straight dog family. The only way I can rationalize that is to say that this is what he does, my straight dog family. 7 years, he said, nothing was done. When in fact, while addressing water, he tried to say that and tried to claim support or tried to claim credit, I should say, for the Shadwell 1 well, which was commissioned in November 2018 by the then Team Unity administration. And this is what, my straight dog family, this is what was written to me as minister. As you can see, on November, my straight dog family. As of the 27th of November, it reads, from the acting or assistant water engineer, Charles Paris, dated the 9th of December. It says, as of the 27th of November, water from Shadwell 1 was introduced in the Bastia water system, my straight dog family. Before the introduction of this water, the needs of the Bastia system were met by wells located within the Bastia Valley Aquifer and water from Lagreed, which is a confluence of flows from Wingfield, Stonefort, and Franklands. The introduction of Shadwell 1 and its capacity to produce 547,000 gallons per day comes at an estimated cost of 130,000 EC dollars. This was not an extra cost, as all material and required components were on hand except the concrete and crane truck used to install the pump. This, it continues, my Straight Dog family, does not include cost to drill and develop the well. This is so, my Straight Dog family, because the contract awarded to Bede clearly stipulated that they must drill water 400 feet and below the Earth's surface. And they found this well just over 200 feet below the Earth's surface, which was which was a reserve for the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. And Bede took forever to commission the well, so instructions were given to the Water Services Department to commission the well, my Straight Dog family, because St. Peter's was having real problems with water. So, my Straight Dog family, when Dr. Drew is fabricating, he must be careful what he says, because his words come right back to haunt him. The lies he continue to spew, my Straight Dog family. It seems as though it has just become a part of Jew, my Straight Dog family, as he makes all sorts of fabrication like this one, my Straight Dog family, which he made today.
At a time, and you actually direct your questions to our Prime Minister, who will then delegate accordingly.
Good morning, Reverend Thompson, that I broadcast corporation. What is being done to improve the water situation in Keon? Understood that there has been water issues for close to a week now, if not more. Also, regarding the upcoming EU CELAC meeting, what is St. Kitts and Nevis's position going into that meeting?
All right, thank you very much for that question. I will, of course, answer part of it as the constituency rep for number 8 and allow the minister with responsibility for water services, to the Honorable Congressman, to respond as well. I would like to say that the issues of water in Keon has been going on for many years. This is not something new at all. And we know, and we have to be honest, that over the last 7 years, during the former administration, nothing at all was done to deal with the water issue in Keon. Not one thing was done. As we can remember, we had Bede Company here who was ready to drill, that already started to drill in various areas. We know that they had done some drilling in Shadwell, and they had identified areas in Keon to drill. And when there was a change in administration in 2015, that was totally shut down and nothing at all was done. Since we came in, and the minister with responsibility will give more details on this one, we have done a number of significant things. One, we have sought to expand our water availability by purchasing water from Marriott so that it can make more water available. That's what.
My Straight Dog family, unless Dr. Drew has renegotiated the Bede contract, because he said this quite clearly. Listen quite clearly again.
No, and we have to be honest that over the last 7 years, during the former administration, nothing at all was done to deal with the water issue in Keon. Not one thing was done. As we can remember, we had Bede Company here who was ready to drill, that already started to drill in various areas. We know that they had done some drilling in Shadwell, and they had identified areas in Cayon to drill. And when there was a change in administration in 2015, that was totally shut down and nothing at all was done.
What a lie. Because unless Dr. Drew has renegotiated the BEAD contract, which was signed by former Minister Sean Richards, then again, he continues to lie. As I said in 2018, it was in 2018, my Straight Dog family, that water was found, or a well was commissioned, I should say, in the Shadwell area to satisfy the St. Peter's shortfall in water, my Straight Dog family. But this contract was signed by Sean Richards in 2021, my Straight Dog family.
As a matter of fact, when I was the minister with responsibility for public infrastructure, I took the opportunity to sign a contract. That contract, in the first instance, called for the correction of the water coming from a well in the Shadwell area, referred to as Shadwell 2. The quality of the water there is compromised. And the second aspect of the contract called for the drilling of a well in Cayon to identify an alternative source of water for the people of Cayon. Unfortunately, it came at a time when COVID was very much with us. The company BEAD came in a first time and began doing some work relative to correcting the issues at Shadwell 2. Unfortunately, the company did not have the equipment required to get the corrections done to Shadwell 2. And so that frustrated the work. The company did leave. And it also was at a time when you came into the federation, you had to do quarantine. And so the company had concerns about that also. The company eventually left with the intentions of coming back to complete the work with Shadwell 2 and also to do the drilling in the Cayon area. My last conversation with BEAD just before I left office was that BEAD is supposed to be returning during the course of this month to begin drilling for a new well here in Cayon to supply the people of Cayon with water to bring this issue to an...
But you see, my Straight Dog family, Dr. Drew treats us here in St. Kitts and Nevis just like a politician once told me that Kittitians and Nevisions have a 3-day syndrome. And when I asked what he meant, he said, after 3 days, we forget. But thank God that politician was never elected. But Drew can never fool us, because we also negotiated with the Royal Utilities Plant, I mentioned this before, at the Marriott Hotel to get 600,000 gallons of desalinated water to augment the source in East Scarcity. My Straight Dog family, there is absolutely no reason why Bird Rock and East Scarcity proper, Frigate Bay and the Southeast Peninsula, there's absolutely no reason why our water should be locked off, why we should be out of water. No reason whatsoever. I remember I shared this with you. I'll share it one more time, my Straight Dog family. This is what we negotiated, my Straight Dog family, over there at the Royal Utilities Plant, my Straight Dog family. As I said before, my Straight Dog family, as I said before, I'll get that slide up for you one more time, my Straight Dog family. Bear with me. I'm sorry about that. As I said before, there were 3 options. The ministry decided, or Congress Maynard decided to take the first option, option 1, 120,000 gallons of water. Why has he discriminated against the people of Bird Rock and downtown East Bastia, Newtown and beyond that gets water from the aquifer? Why? When option 3 allows the amount of 600,000 gallons to be delivered. And Congress Maynard and Dr. Drew must ensure that they augment the supply here in East Basile with the 600,000 gallons of desalinated water from the Marriott Hotel. It's there. I know it's there, and they cannot deny it, my Straight Talk family. But, you know, it is said that karma is a bitch, my Straight Talk family. As under Labour, a 2 million gallon desalination plant lied idle at the valley between 2006 and 2015. Yes, that plant I shared with you, my Straight Dog family, the plant that lied idle at the valley from 2006 and was never commissioned by Labour. Labour, my Straight Dog family, was warned as well about salt intrusion in the Bastia Valley aquifer. They were warned about that, my Straight Dog family. Labour was warned that salt intrusion in the Bastia Valley aquifer well field would become a reality if they continued the pumping 24/7, which had been done over 30 years. And the report recommended to move the wells upland to the north of the airport. This report is sitting in the office of Congress Maynard. He must read it and come back to the country and tell the country what Labour did since 2007, my Straight Dog family. This OET report is sitting in his office. Read it, Congress Maynard, then finish your song. Finish your report to the country, Congress Maynard. It is only 11 months. As I said, my Straight Dog family, karma is a bitch. And this water issue has come back to haunt Labour. It has haunted us as well. But that's why we must get rid of them sooner rather than later. It's only 11 months, but political buyer's remorse is sweeping even across the deepest parts of the tried and tested red bastions of the working class support for the Labour Party. Some are calling out for Douglas. Come back, Douglas, they said. While the majority are crying out for Harris. They're saying, we want Harris. We want team unity. But one thing for sure, the majority of people in St. Kitts and Nevis are not happy with a novice holding the rudder of the state. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I'm not going to change it. I'll entertain your calls and your emails as I open the lines anytime now. The numbers are 646-829-6672 or 869-663-6672. Before I open the lines, as I normally do, and I'll do so in a couple seconds, I always like to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure the things we say and or do will be beneficial for all concerned. And in doing and saying those things, my Straight Dog family, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis, my Straight Dog family. It is 7 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. As I open the lines and I entertain your calls, again, there are those I know, as I said, who like the cloak of anonymity. And for those, we make available our email platform. And the email address is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. That's STRAIGHTTALK patches, PATCHES, @gmail.com. Let us as well try to be respectful. And yes, some people are calling for some more respect as we go along, and I think I can concur. But in the meantime, let's go to the lines and say, good night, caller. You are live. It is 9 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Caller, you're live.
Good night. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling as well.
One more night on the land of the living. Mr. Liburd, I don't know what's going on for nearly a year, and was using saying nothing was doing. Now they get to cheat and get the opportunity. They put in St. Kitts back to 20 years. Come on the radio showing where they're going to build a hospital, like something new. This Prime Minister had a hospital, a school, a prison, and whatever else to do. What they're going to do and will do whenever, that's nothing new. Please, please, when the hospital finish, go back to your job and let the people stop bawling. I am hearing some country or who or what send an invitation to the best Prime Minister, and who receive it, mark out his name. I don't know. It's more lies than truth, all of them saying right now. People need their land. Almost a year they don't persevere. What's the hold up? Don't give them to nobody. When people see people walking up and down like they're crazy, it's something is what the people do to them. I hear the pastor speak about the houses at Baker's Corner. What taking so long? Who there was for getting them? I hear the funeral will be viewed, but I don't hear if it's half a whole day. You remember, I can't hear you. You hear anything?
No, I have not.
Hello?
No, I have not. I have not heard anything, no.
Remember not to sit among them. No respect for you. Who do that? Patches do that. The water was there, yes, not like no, but show what you come to do. Big and bad, no manners. Thank you. Have a good night. You and a good weekend. Culture, you too.
Yes, my dear. Have yourself a good night as well. A good weekend. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Good night, messenger and educator.
Good night, sir.
Brother. Patches.
How are you, my brother? Good night.
I am putting a prayer 180 degrees around you. Because it wasn't for a man like you, when I heard the first time, for my conviction, for my bid, I would have never been aware of how governance conduct themselves in the federation of my island, St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, I'm going to move backward to the beginning. In respect to the wells that was drilled in Shadwell, as I may summarize, please interact with me. That water the water quality, as I heard, it was not good quality water to be supplied to the people of St. Peter's. Is it fair to say that so far?
It's accurate. The multipurpose lab did not approve it. Yeah.
Okay. Was there water during the drilling? Water was struck. Water was found, regardless of the quality.
Yeah, water is found. It has a capacity of some 300,000 gallons, but there was some arsenic or something, poison, something in the water that was found by the multipurpose lab.
And that really was a fact, because you will hear contamination of water, right? But couldn't it be purified? Because there are so many technologies to extract water from anything and purify it back. I'm not going to compare scientists with Mother Nature, because Mother Nature, due to condensation, regardless of where condensation takes place, the water, as long as it comes back down to earth, it is good. Is it fair to say that?
Yes, we're not, what you're saying is correct. Bede was asked to do whatever is necessary to get the water in a potable situation. I think it had to do with the packing of the wells and how the well was constructed that caused all the problems.
So, don't you think that water, as it lies there, I assume the well is capped right now, you don't think that water could be usable? I'm getting to a point, you know.
Of course it could be usable, but we want the water to be used for drinking purposes, and we want potable water that can be used in the household. Not really, you can go and start the water plants with them. We could use for any other thing, but we don't want that.
Okay. Well, apart from drinkable, like for instance, can that water be used for irrigation in terms of farming?
Well, that's what we said. I just said you don't want it to water plants. That's irrigation. But I'm saying the issue is that there is a water shortage in particular areas of the country, and at the time, still St. Peter's has a problem, and we would like the water to be brought to a state where it can be used. Yes.
Potable. Okay. All right. So what is the fix?
The what?
What is the fix in respect to that well? Unless that well will just be there, all that money that was put into it is a loss.
No, what I said before, and I have some people waiting on the line, but what I said before, Bede has been mandated to deliver the well as it ought to be delivered in terms of potable water. Whatever is to be done has to be done. It's not abandoned.
Well, so Bede has
have an obligation. They have an obligation to deliver as per the contract.
So then Bede should be forced to do what is expected. All right. Moving from that. Coming to. All right.
Yeah, go ahead quickly. 30 seconds. Right. 10 seconds, so.
All right. Coming to that, I heard you said, in respect to the Attorney General and two businessman brothers were jailed for not making the expectation to the Social Security. Is that a fact and has been done recently?
You know, I understand what you're trying to get at, right? But you almost border on being offensive when you're asking straight talk if that facts. You only get facts on straight talk. I must admit to you. I think I understand what you're trying to say, but perhaps you can preface your comment in a different way. Because one of the things I can assure you, right, as the host of this program, I remain and will always be an untiring advocate of truthfulness. I'm not going to water down anything in any way by omission, exaggeration, to make it interesting. I have a duty, a bounden duty, to always present the unvarnished truth, especially when it comes to governance in this country, because I'm a stickler.
That's what I'm coming from.
Yeah. So when you hear, So when you hear things on Straight Talk, right, they are not fabrication.
No.
But I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
About that.
I understand what you're saying.
Coming to a point.
Yeah, but come quickly, because I have you on a long time now.
Okay.
About 5 minutes or more.
The point I'm trying to make is, if those two men were penalized in whatever way, and the Attorney General was in that same boat, and probably even worse, I think those two people who were jailed, or fined, or penalized, they should be freed. Because how will you judge when you commit the same kind of crime and go to jail these people? That is absolutely wrong. So, the Attorney General, who was the prosecutor...
No, he wasn't. The Attorney General was... No, please. Don't go there. The Attorney General is not the prosecutor. The Attorney General don't prosecute cases. The Attorney General offended the law. All right? He's the chief legal advisor, but he doesn't prosecute. The Social Security board has its own lawyer, one called Leon Charles. He prosecutes on behalf of the Social Security, not the Attorney General. Please, don't go there.
Okay? I remain for correct.
Yes, thanks.
But anyway, I think those two men who were prosecuted, regardless of who prosecuted them, they should be freed immediately.
Okay.
Because there is a crime and the top dog has made that crime.
Okay.
And that is absolutely wrong.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you. I will be back again. I have two more questions. I yield to others.
Thank you for your understanding. Yes, I think we're saying, almost saying the same thing. I raise it in the context that the Attorney General made the point about introducing this legislation to have swift justice. But yes, we want swift justice, but more importantly, we want equal justice. And that is where the Attorney General has lacked. Caller, thank you for holding your live.
Okay, thank you, Patrice.
So
I want to say as many things in a little short space of time. So I ain't gonna waste no time. Now, if water, it doesn't mean that water can be used for garden, can be drinkable. Drinkable water supposed to be first, and if they cannot drink, well, then that the water can use for anything else. Because if you can't drink water to stay alive, you will not be a farmer, because you will dead. That is that thing there about those two business brothers in Old Road. They have some kind of law that they could sue the person who put them to jail, because the head of the justice system supposed to show example for people to follow. And if that head of the justice system could break the law, just like those two guys who go in prison, and he ain't gone, they have some kind of right that they can take. They can go to the court with it, and they can win it. Well, I want people to see the injustice that is happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, all because of politics. As long as you're not supporting the government that is in power, which is Labour, you don't have no rights. That is the way they operate in this country. Now, school has gone on vacation, and they will be open in September. And too long now, the high school has been up tailors in those two long wooden buildings. And we are in a hurricane season. Before they start to break down the grammar school building, a doctor who is a big man up the hospital, he went up there and said he eat that from up there and nothing is wrong with up there. Well, if nothing is wrong with up the grammar school, why are they breaking it down? Why? To go put up something else, Patches, when they had the ground already cleaned off to build a new school where Team Unity was going to build it. They refused to go there. But the gang of breakdown where they got to spend more money than to put up a new building and the cleaned up. So you see what happened to that man from Monkey Hill? That worthless man? He do not want to say he continue in anything that the former administration left. And the former administration leave a lot of good things in the pipeline, which he was supposed to continue. But he want to say he doing things different. Now, the gone on the fort, go build museum. The museum could wait. All those children will come out of school right now here. Wait, where are they going to find work for them? Where are they going? They were supposed to go and continue building new school, and then some of these children could go up there and get work. They're concerned about politics rather than putting a place for the children them to go school. I want the people overseas to know the foolishness that are going on here. All what this government is doing, using the money in the treasury to travel from plane every week. Every week. They don't consider that the people of this country need money and work to keep them. I got another hot one to come back with again, Patches. And please, when I come back, it's about one of them who was in government and no casting explosion on other people. Okay. So when I come back, please let me talk when I come back. I'm going to leg up on him. I'll be back. Thank you. So long.
Thank you very much. Let's go straight back to the lines and thank this caller for holding Caller Live.
Hello.
Yes,
hello,
sir.
good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Is this Mr. Ian Liburd?
Yes, speaking.
Hi, how are you? I am not calling from St. Vincent at the Grenadines or calling about St. Vincent, but I saw your program and number on YouTube, right? And I wanted to find out if it's the same Ian Liburd that was involved in the shipping industry many years ago.
Yes, the same Ian Liburd.
Same Ian Liburd. My name is Condell Stevenson. You're supposed to remember that name very well because we used to be involved in the CSA, many CSA conferences.
Yes, Condell, what you doing, man? How are you doing?
I am doing very well. It's just strange that I came across your program and your number, and I said, let me call because I haven't seen or heard from Ian in many moons.
You were in St. Vincent or Jamaica?
I am in Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaica. Okay, I know Condell from Jamaica. You thought I said St. Vincent.
Yes.
Okay.
No. So I just say, let me call and give you a shout out. I don't know about the local affairs in St. Vincent to have a decent conversation with Mr. Patches. In those days, I didn't even know you as Patches. I just know you as Ian Liburd.
That is correct. But we must. I will take your number, right? I think I see your number. Yes. I'm going to give you a shout because we need to connect again. It's years, man.
Yes, many years. Yes.
So you're still in the shipping business?
I tell people I'm semi-retired.
Okay. But good to hear you, man. Good to hear you.
Yes, good to hear you. All the best. We'll catch up now that I know where to find you.
Yes, I'll give you a shout and give you my other numbers, okay?
Yeah, man. You take care now.
Take care. Thanks for calling, man. Thanks for calling.
All right, good.
Those good old days at CSA, yes.
Naturally, yes.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for calling. Yes, my Straight Talk family. That's what Straight Talk is all about, and connected with an old friend from the shipping business as part of the Caribbean Shipping Association. So it's a little digression, but we understand that's how it goes sometimes, my Straight Talk family. It's now 9:25, my Straight Talk family. And we are looking at this novice who is who has our rudder, who's holding the rudder of the state. And we are saying, my Straight Dog family, that one has to be careful in terms of what is going on with this rudder in the hand of this novice. Caller, you're live.
Greetings, Mr. Ian Patches Liburd. How are you?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
I'm very, very good. Just listen to your program as usual, continuously.
Thank you.
And your expression tonight on the country is good. in terms of you bringing evidence pertaining to policies that would have been implemented about the country. Because it's about the country.
True.
And it's good that we can hear constructive reasoning pertaining the country. Mr. Patches, no party in this country has the template to govern the country. The only legal template we have to govern our country is the Constitution. And this government, this party, when they get elected, they got to provide policies to govern themselves within that Constitution. I'm not right?
Yeah, you're perfectly correct. Perfectly correct.
It takes policies to govern the country.
True.
So we as a people would say the policies of the former administration wasn't no good for the country. Could we tell ourselves that? Honestly speaking. Mr. Patches, I heard you talk tonight concerning Dr. Douglas. What, as a citizen, what really beats me about Dr. Douglas? The workers we see from 93 and them kind of things there, emergency and all them kind of things in the country. And then that leadership end up with a court decision removing him from the parliament. And he didn't contest that to play his name. And that is what really struck me, because I asked myself, what could a court see at the time to remove him from office? Those are questions I should ask myself as a citizen. The other guys I hear you talk of tonight too is the PAP program. I'm only talking about HUD. And if we say 1,000 plus apply, and 8,000 is eligible.
11,000 apply.
11,000, yes, sorry. 11,000 apply. 11,639. And 8,000 is eligible. Well, without no hesitation, those 8,000 already passed.
Of course.
Because they are eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you run in a race and cheap persons hit the tape one time, you can give one and leave the two.
Not at all.
You got to give the three because they are eligible. They won the race.
They won the race, yes.
And one more point I would like to make, Mr. Patches. One, the former minister of tourism who was responsible for the Love Valley project. You know, some years ago on your program, that time it was on BNFM, you broke that notice to the public. And I myself, listening to the program at the time, I wonder if you're getting yourself in trouble. But when he responded, you played the tape many times, when he responded, he answered, you notice surprised him because he responded, you can see he was surprised with how he used his words. And he, until today, I'm very surprised with him too. He, until today, hasn't come to the country with a reasonable explanation to say really about that project. And I'm still waiting to see if that former minister would go to his grave without letting the country know that mishap under his watch. Mr. Patrick, you continue to be strong and stay healthy and stay focused.
Thank you very much. You do the same, my brother. Well, we'll wait with abated breath to see if he'll do that, because he gave us a Reagan, said he don't remember. Patches, you heard about the young lady, reads this email, who was fired from CFBC by this wicked Labour administration because she spoke out against them. A young, brilliant lady who voted for Labour but she is independent minded. So she said things how she sees them. Unfortunately, she received her letter last week telling her that her services are no longer required. Wow, that sounds like typical labor. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Padil.
Yes, my lord. How are you, the Bible man?
Well, you think I know on the line now calling you?
Well, I'm happy you got it. What's on your mind?
I have a thing on your mind, but I'm going to be so short. Now, I want to give God thanks and praise for this wonderful opportunity. And God been good to me. And I'm thanking him for still life. A wonderful life. His sweetest life. I am thanking him for it. Now in Psalm 62, God is saying there, 62:11. So I give the passage scripture, and then people open the Bible and read it. It says, I talk once, I talk twice. It says, power belongs to God.
God, yes.
Now, I am reading from Daniel chapter 4. Now, my brother, listen here. A lot of people believe to themselves when they get the power, they could go on as bad as they want. But Belshazzar in the Old Testament, he believed to himself when God set him up. He believed he could have gone back too. But Belshazzar wasn't like. And the Lord, oh yeah. And the Lord, hey, my brother, yeah. And the Lord tell him in the 17th verse, this matter, by the degree of the watch of the Daniels. Now, it talks telling here that the kingdom that you won, I could do as little like I give who I want. You understand? And then Belshazzar believed to himself, God did not a small boy, but God put him on the throne out the door to eat grass. The same thing with Saul. God set him up to be the king of Israel. God tell him, go and do. I put you to be a ruler. Go and do what I tell you. Saul do what you want. And then in the night time, God sent a message to Samuel. He said, go and tell Saul, and reject him to be king over Israel. And so, when King God put up and God bring down, and my little thing tonight, my brother, God say in Psalm 41, blessed is the man that considereth the poor. In the time of trouble, the Lord shall live with him. The Lord perfect scripture have to say tonight, Mr. Brother, my brother. Lamentation, chapter 3. It is the Lord mercy that we are not consumed. Brother, we could get caught on any time. It is God how out the range. So we must behave ourselves when we get out of the position. And God control. It happened in the old time and it could happen now. So my brother, I ain't gonna talk, I take too much time. So see you and you be still. The word of God says,
be still and know.
Still and know that I am God. Yes. Mr. Patrick, have a pleasant night. See you, bye.
Have a pleasant night, Mr. Bible Man. Always look forward to your Bible verses. Good night, Patches. Reads this email. It's almost 1 year since Jew in power, and because he is so immature, he don't know he should not be in a political mode. Jew has touched the core of many families and communities when he starts victimizing key senior workers and high officials. Labour and Jew have to go. They are the worst government ministers in this country. Not even Douglas was as wicked as Jew. I now see why Douglas has distanced himself from Jew. I'm a big Labour, but for what I'm seeing, Jew will not last one term. Even strong Labour supporters, Jew is fighting down. Last Jew got past. Last. Watch him good. You see the evil in his eyes. Read this email. Every time I see and hear of the suffering and hardships of people in the Federation who enjoyed a better living under Team Unity government, my spirit grieves terribly to see how hard we worked over the years to wrestle the government from the Labour Party after they were indulging numerous corrupt practices, spite, victimization and mismanagement, and now to realize that some greedy, hungry politicians who could not wait their turn returned the government to Labour on a platter. What a burning shame, reads this other email. This email reads, I want to commend the Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Cozier, in the NRP government, for that bold and courageous step he has taken to challenge Premier Brantley in court on misfeasance charges for him to explain the inefficiency and improper use of public funds. Mr. Cozier must also be credited for challenging the judge to recuse himself from hearing the case, as it always appear that Brantley has some influential authority over the court system, so much so that whenever there is a case brought against him and his party, he can openly boast on his radio program that the complainant will lose and would have to pay him and his lawyers large sums in costs. We wish you every success, Mr. Cozier, reads that email. My Straight Talk family, it's now 19 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour. You may have just joined me. And tonight we are looking at our thesis, which we titled tonight, a novice. A novice, my straight dog family, who is holding the rudder of state. And my straight dog family, we looked at the issues of the day and examine what is actually going on. As we examine the performance of this novice, who, as I said, is holding the rudder of the state. And I made the point that the students of history amongst us, and I'm not one, must have read about Marcus Tullius Cicero, a statesman, lawyer, etc., who tried to uphold ultimate principles, the highest principles, during the political crises that led to the establishment of the Roman Empire. History reveals that Cicero was marginalized in the Roman Senate and thus became frustrated without real power and began to write about the government or how the government should be run. It is said that his political influence had declined at the time of his writings, and he penned these words to a friend, and I quote, "I used to sit on the deck and hold the rudder of the state in my hands. Now there is scarcely room for me in the bilge." And I made the point that there is a perfect example being played out right before our eyes in the Jew cabinet. No matter how the public appearances or the public pretense, Jew and his advisors, Hartley and Charlie, devised a strategy very early to sideline Denzel Douglas, who had the rudder of state in his hands for 20 years. I also made the point, for those who have joined me belatedly, that Douglas served as a leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party for 32 years. I believe one short of Bradshaw, his godfather, who served for 33 years, I think from 1945 to 1978. And Douglas, yes, he made mention of his 32 years of service while speaking to a regional journalist, my straight dog family, and he made mention of his 32 years of service.
The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, in January, it celebrates its 90th anniversary. And for the 90 years that it would have been in existence, I have led it for 32 years. Isn't that a long time?
Yes, it's a long time. And that was in 2021. And Douglas asked for just 6 months more. I believe he wanted to equal Bradshaw's tenure and celebrate the 90th birthday of the party as its leader in 2022. But Drew was so hungry for power, insisted that Douglas must go. And Douglas believed he was disrespected just to ask for an extra 6 months.
I prefer if people can say that they would want me to support in that way for the extra 6 months, then I prefer not to be there. And so I ask you to consider what I have said. I wanted to clarify this matter because I think it is totally disrespectful when people are saying, oh, Douglas must go. Douglas wants to stay here forever. This is what is being said by our own comrades around. And I feel very, very disrespected when people will make statements of that kind. Of course, you can say you don't want Douglas. You can have someone else. But to say that I want to stay here forever and I must go and that kind of nonsense, I feel disrespected. I wouldn't say hurt, but disrespected.
You remember today at the press conference, Douglas, or rather Drew, threw a question to Douglas about the Valley and Christopher Harbour and other unfinished projects. When he himself has goofed up many things about Christopher Harbour and the Valley, he said they had shares, the government has shares in Christopher Harbour, 30% shares, some nonsense like that. Right? But Douglas did a good job today. But so adamant was due to sideline Douglas. He even tried to meet one of his financiers, Denzel's financiers. And when it was suggested by the contact, his organizer, that he should bring Douglas along in his arrogance, Drew responded that he was not going to walk in the shadow of Denzel Douglas. And the investor refused to meet Drew in the absence of Douglas. And I remember that particular investor referred to Denzel Douglas in the presence of a full house at a meeting, referred to Douglas as Jesus Christ. What he meant, I don't know till this day. But Drew, the party minority leader, put Jeffrey next in line, though Douglas recommended Conris. Jeffrey, we know, was appointed to manage the infamous PEP program. And while he was manager, over $2 million was spent of the people's money with his nephew in Florida. Douglas recruited him, nonetheless, to join his ticket in 2020. Then Drew appointed him as his deputy after the 2022 election. But really, I asked the question, what kind of advice can Drew get from a self-confessed student? What kind of advice can this slow student give to us, a Prime Minister?
Look at me, comrade. I told you how I started off as a slow student. I went to 1A4, 2A4, 3G7, 4G6, 5th Farm, 5G6. And guess what? I repeated. So I was in school for quite a while. But look at me today. Bachelor's in psychology with a minor in social work. Masters of education. Another master's degree in political and organizational psychology. And I would have been in a program for quite a while, since 2005, I'm not ashamed. And in 2016, I was offered the opportunity of getting a PhD.
Yes, what a turnaround, one would say. In circumstances unheard of. Elsewhere, having left the tertiary level at the bottom, we must say this is a great turnaround to now end up with more degrees, as Powell would say, than a thermometer. And according to him, was offered the opportunity of getting a PhD, whatever that means. But everyone knows that Jeffrey Hanley lied about his graduation. We haven't been able to, we haven't addressed that. But I'll give you some more information on that in time to come. But Jeffrey does not care and parades the country and the world as Dr. Jeffrey Hanley. But everyone knows as well that he graduated with a PhD from a university he did not attend. Caller, I want to thank you for holding you alive.
Yes, Patrice.
Sorry I have you holding
Yes, thank you, man. Then we go talking about the issues of the country. Now, you know when two big men speaking one another.
Let me. Sorry to interrupt you here, but I think I should tell you. I wanted to call you privately, right? I believe sometimes you can come across like the real culture I know, right? If you, I don't mind the word worthless, and then worthless is the common or colloquial way of saying worthless, you know. And you're not an Englishman, so you could say worthless. I could live with that, right? You know, no matter what people say, worthless means worthless, but you're not an Englishman, all right?
Okay.
But sometimes, you know, just sort of tone it down for me, right? And get across your points. And some people would remember the guy riding on the bike and almost ran into the green bit, you call it?
The evergreen.
Evergreen tree. All right. What's on your mind? I don't want to tell that to you.
Okay. Let me go here now. You know when two big men speaking, you never hear one of them telling the other one, "Man, I see the biggest shark this morning," and another one will say, "Man, I see a big one." Yes. No, they use the term, "Boy, I see a big shark this morning." Boy. So when people say that boy, they don't mean nothing derogative. It's just a customary. Now let me go here, Patrick. No, Dr. Joe is so loyal that the Lord gonna deal with that tongue which he telling the lies with, because the Bible says the Lord Jesus hated 7 things, and 3 of them underlined, which I said: a proud look, hands that shed innocent blood, and a lying tongue. And he keep going forward, driving in the rearview mirror. Right now, he is campaigning because he expects his government to tumble down. Because right now, there is a big crack in the Labour Party. He got half, and the bad man got the other half. So he's campaigning. Every time he opens his mouth, he always commenting on what don't happen with the Team Unity government. He's saying that he blaming the Team Unity government for closing down the police station in St. Paul's. What a lie, Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe, get your fact before you open your mouth. Because you're trying to impress people that you're speaking truth, but it's pure lies. You're just like Satan. Anybody who knows Satan, we cannot expect Satan to say anything truthful about Jesus Christ. So when you hear them to open their mouth, just tell yourself it's a lie. The police station in St. Paul's had to be closed down in Labour's time because policemen were complaining of getting shocked. So when he gonna come and say that it's Team Unity close it down, he is lying. Now let me go to the person now. The caller before, the man who read the Bible, is so correct. That former minister, he was in there for 10 years, and you know what went on? All were wrong, and all were him with passport and bedding house and all them kind of things, say, and other things. And he had some kind of utterance on the radio today saying that when a small man thief something from a shop, they go to jail for $100, they go to jail. Well, I ain't wrong nobody for that, because I don't like thieving, and thieving is wrong. But then he went on to say there are people in this country who are walking around with millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they should be going to trial too, and they should be put in jail. And he was saying that the money, we know where the money come from. Well, evil thing as evil does, and who knows it, speak about it. Who are involved in it, talk about it. Why don't they talk about the cane field, that a lot of money was spent with green tinning to fence up down Cranston Estate, and my cousin was walking down the driving truck and hauling dirt, and they owe him money. But I understand somebody from across the Shiwado come here, and something was signed by somebody, and money gone out to here. Well, that person, that minister, if you could remember 1967 and 93 in battle and 200 throwing. And those were years before 1995 election that went over to 2005. How can he remember something recently, but he could remember far back? Far back. So when people hear them, they're coming on the radio and making themselves sound like a saint from heaven, back check the history and the legacy. Anyway, I got something more to say, but I'll leave it for next week. Thank you for taking me call. So long.
Thank you for your intervention. Patches, good night. Reads this email. I believe that caller can, from the other side of the island, should find a better way to refer to the PM as worthless and good for nothing is sounding very disrespectful in my opinion. But everyone is entitled to their opinion here on Street Talk. But I remember my grandmother referring to worthless, good for nothing. And worthless may sound, it may sound harsh, but it just says it's as someone is, it looks at one's value. It looks at one's merit, and it rates someone. But I understand, I take your point, but in these times we are allowed to agree and to disagree. Patches reads this email. You reminds me of a frontman in a band who practices a song for a week and forgets the words when it was time to sing it at the dance. Because of his inability to extempo, he's unable to recover. Reads this email. A very interesting perspective here, my Straight Dog family. It's now 9:59, 1 minute before 10 o'clock. I started a bit late and I apologize for that, so I'm going to give you back that time I deprived you of, my Straight Dog family. And I know that some of you may have joined me late, but as I mentioned earlier, our thesis tonight, we titled "A Novice Holding the Rudder of State." And we looked at this novice, and his performance has forced people to call for his head, or for his recall. Let me put it that way. Many are saying it is time for Douglas and O'Harris. But Douglas and O'Harris are no longer at the helm. And the Federation appears to be in such an upside-down position, upside-down situation. Our economy is in great disorder. The cost of living has gone through the roof. Crime and violence is the order of the day. That many cannot help but wonder what will become of our ship of state if this novice continues to steer the rudder. And I'm afraid that many of the questions Cicero asked back then resonate today. And if you missed that part, I did mention that Cicero was removed from the Senate, and his political influence declined. He was marginalized. And he penned these words to a friend, and I quote, "I used to sit on the deck and hold the rudder of the state in my hands. Now there is scarcely room for me in the bilge." But my Straight Talk family, as I said, and I repeat, many of the questions Cicero asked back then are still relevant today. One of which is, what is the foundation of a just government? And believe me, this is a complex topic that has been debated for centuries. What is the foundation of a just government? And one of the most important principles is the idea of popular sovereignty, which means that the government exists to serve the people who elected representatives to express their will, the will of the people. Another important principle is consent of the governed, which refers to the idea that the government's legitimacy and moral right to use state power is justified and lawful only when consented to by the people over which that political power is exercised. Justice is also important, or an important foundation, I should say, for democracy and health. And we must remind Garth Lucian Wilkin, because today he promised swift justice. But most of all, Garth Wilkin, we need equal justice. You promised this.
We are also working on the Criminal Procedure Bill and amendments to the Jury Bill to speed up and strengthen the criminal justice system. Accused persons and victims simply wait too long for their cases to be heard. We are addressing this as a high priority for the AG's office, and I promise that within the next year there will be swifter justice in St. Kitts and Nevis.
And yes, we need swift justice, because it is said that justice delayed is justice denied. But what kind of rule is there without equal justice? What kind of rule is better? A good rule, it is clear, and it is always enforced when broken. That's a good rule. It's behavioral. A good rule places emphasis on behavior that sets an example that can be followed. And the behavior of the country's chief legal advisor is atrocious, to say the least. The behavior of Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin, our chief legal officer, has not one admirable quality, as he is totally dishonest. The swift justice that the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin refers to has two businessmen, two brothers, as I mentioned earlier, from Old Road. Right now, in 1840, sent to spend 4 months in jail for breaching the social security laws of St. Kitts and Nevis. You understand, these two businessmen, these two brothers, are owed hundreds of thousands of dollars by the government. And I tell you, they must pay. But everybody must pay. But there must only be swiftness in justice. But there must not only, I should say, be swiftness in justice, but there must also, more importantly, be equality in justice. The Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin did not pay his contributions until he was elected president of the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association. Then he lapsed again for 12 or 15 months and ran to settle his arrears the very day before he was appointed Attorney General, Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs. That's a fact. Having taken the oath of office and having sworn to uphold the Constitution, he failed to pay again for 5 more months. But that was okay with the Social Security lawyer, Charles, and the Social Security Board, no doubt, because his last name is Wilkin, a privileged kid. So yes, we want swift justice, but there's a basic promise of our legal system that there will be equal justice under the law. That can only mean that our laws are just and that everyone, Tut, Moon, and Sam, and Bagay, they say, everyone must be held equally accountable if they break those laws. And we must never forget, because the AG has never apologized, we must never forget that the AG Garth Lucian Wilkin broke the law. As for our leaders, or our leader, he exhibits none of the qualities that others should follow. As we live in the present, and must face the future, everybody needs hope. When some people lose hope, taking extreme negative actions, such as suicide, we get depressed. Unfortunately, this becomes attractive to some people. Hope is very important. When people become hopeless, my Straight Talk family, they are tired of living. In the book of Proverbs, it reads, hope deferred makes the heart sick. When dreams come true, there's life and joy. How should our leader behave is another pertinent question, and relevant. And my simple response is, he must always tell the truth. But recall that on Straight Talk we have renamed July. And this is because Dr. Drew obviously believes that telling lies to the Federation would give us hope. But we are a godly nation, and Dr. Drew seems to forget that every time before he speaks, the national anthem is played. And we sing words like, with God in our struggles. Very powerful words. So each time Dr. Drew and some of his members of cabinet lie to the country, it reminds many of us that the Lord told the people of Judah, your prophets have said so many foolish things, false to the core. They did not try to hold you back from exile by pointing out your sins. Instead, they painted false pictures, filling you with false hope. False hope is no hope, my Straight Talk family. And all they have said for the 11 months, they have excited many to receive their lies, who receive their lies as the truth. But that has not come to pass. The poor people are their victims, who they promise that they will increase the PAP to $1,500, as $500 could not lift anyone out of poverty. They promised they would raise the minimum wage. What have they done? And what these false prophets did, they took thousands of poor people off the PAP. Thousands of poor people off the PAP after saying this to us, my Straight Talk family.
We paid on the 30th of June, I'll get that number for you, 5,361 households are receiving PAP at this time. Remember, when we closed applications in December, 11,639 applied. of that number, 8,985 were eligible. All right? And so that now, if you take 5,361 from that number, it's over 60% of the applications are being paid. I know for some persons being in the 40%, to them it's unfair. When you take the big picture, PAP is functioning for what it's supposed to be, a social assistance program for the most poor and vulnerable in our population.
Of course, it must be unfair. If they are eligible, they're poor. Poor is poor. Why discriminate against some poor? But Dr. Drew, as a leader, must create a foundation of fairness and openness, or we will never believe him. He has an uphill struggle. But for 11 months, he has done nothing but lie and give us false hope about reducing the cost of living. Such a lie. Go to the supermarket tomorrow. 2 little pieces of mackerel, poor people food, $20. And for the past 11 months, all Jew has been focused on is the last 7 years of team unity instead of moving the country forward. Telling lies about water, lies about bead, lies about the Shadwell 1 well, which was done under team unity, under my watch in 2018. And it's producing 547,000 gallons per day as we speak. Furthermore, unless Drew has renegotiated the contract, my Straight Dog family, and I know he did not, Drew told another lie today about the water and about bead and trying to take credit for what he did not do. And he must understand that government is continuous. That's one of his difficulties, my Straight Dog family, just to understand that government is continuous. And it is expected, yes, that he will have to continue some things, like the contract signed with the former administration, with BEAD.
As a matter of fact, when I was the minister with responsibility for public infrastructure, I took the opportunity to sign a contract. That contract, in the first instance, called for the correction of the water coming from a well in the Shadwell area, referred to as Shadwell 2. The quality of the water there is compromised. And the second aspect of the contract called for the drilling of a well in Kayan to identify an alternative source of water for the people of Kayan. Unfortunately, it came at a time when COVID was very much with us. The company BEAD came in a first time and began doing some work relative to correcting the issues at Shadwell 2. Unfortunately, the company did not have the equipment required to get the corrections done to Shadwell 2. And so that frustrated the work. The company did leave. And it also was at a time when you came into the federation, you had to do quarantine. And so the company had concerns about that also. The company eventually left with the intentions of coming back to complete the work with Shadwell 2 and also to do the drilling in the Kayan area. My last conversation with BEAD just before I left office was that BEAD is supposed to be returning during the course of this month to begin drilling for a new well here in Kayan to supply the people of Kayan with water to bring this issue to an...
So why did he have to lie that Team Unity did nothing for 7 years with water? Why? We also negotiated with the Royal Utilities plant at Marriott. I was there to get 100,000 gallons of desalinated water to augment the source in East Bassett. And I say there's absolutely no reason why East Bastille, including Bird Rock, Frigate Bay, and the Southeast Peninsula, there should be no reason whatsoever that this part of the Federation should be out of water. But it is said, as I wind down tonight programming, that karma is a bitch. Because under Labour, a 2 million gallon desalination plant was never commissioned from since 2006, my Straight Dog family. Labour was warned about the salt intrusion in the Bastille Valley aquifer well field. And the report recommended to move the wells upland to the north of the airport. But this has come back to haunt Labour and haunt us, all of us, as well. It's only 11 months thus far, my Straight Dog family. But political buyer's remorse is sweeping even across the deepest parts of the tried and tested red bastions of the working class support for the Labour Party. Some are calling out for the return of Douglas, while the majority are crying out for the return of Harris. But one thing for sure, my Straight Dog family, the people of this country, this federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, are not happy with this novice holding the rudder of state. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I am not going to change it. But my time is done and I got to run. I apologize again for my late start tonight, but I topped you up with the time tonight. But I thank, first of all, Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I want to thank you, the many listeners. I want to thank those of you who call and those of you who send emails. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. Until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Go to church. If you're looking for a place of worship, Zion Moravian Church will welcome you. I'll be there, God's willing, on Sunday. But remember as well that whatever your mind conceive, and yes, Sister Onita Samuel Warner is a lovely pastor, always brings an inspirational message from the book. Bless on her heart by Almighty. But remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve, my Straight Dog family. But all you got to do is to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Dog family, keep moving on until we connect on Monday. Bye-bye. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
For the morning light, give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night, for the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceive that I will achieve, you better believe. Because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach my knees. To the Lord I kneel and pray. With my heart and soul, beg him to take me through each day. My guardian to keep and my guide. Over every step I take, he will preside. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Now I'm on my way with strength and courage from above. No man I'll fear, since God protects me with his love. Strong, pure and true, and so sincere, 'cause my knees I'll always stay to the Lord in prayer. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, I gotta reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.